Bonjour, this is Natalie Hurdy speaking. Welcome to FrancoFoods. Today we are staying in France and we will be making Croque Monsieur. The reason I chose to make Croque Monsieur is actually a sentimental reason. The very first time I've ate a Croque Monsieur was on my honeymoon and we were in Dijon. We were hungry and there was a counter where we could go buy sandwiches and whatnot, and they had on the menu Croque Monsieur. I'd heard of them, knew about them, had never eaten one. So I finally gave in. It was quite an experience. It definitely is not your average ham and cheese sandwich. So to start, I thought it'd be fun to make my own bread. I chose to do a Peasant Bread, partially because it's super fast. It's just a few simple ingredients. It's a no-knead bread, so it made it very easy for me to make fresh bread to make this sandwich. Peasant bread is similar to what is known as Irish soda bread. It's the kind of thing a mom would have made way back when, and maybe even today, like me, would have made to have fresh bread in the house, but without needing a lot of hands-on time. You can just it almost makes itself. The key is just to mix everything in, make sure there's no dry flour left anywhere. Once you're done mixing it, you just put it in a loaf pan. You could even make it freeform. I've decided to try making it in a Dutch oven. I've been kind of reading up on breads, and it seems that it's something that is often used for bread making, for especially like this type of bread. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a whirl. The nice thing also with peasant bread, you don't use a lot of tools and equipment, as you can see. You even put it in the pan where it's going to bake to let it rise. There's no multiple risings, so again, not a lot of time is needed. It's a fairly wet dough and can be kind of tricky to get out of the container, as you can tell. So I think it's time for me to give in and buy myself a bowl scraper, because it can be kind of frustrating sometimes when I'm trying to do it with my hands. And that's it. Put it in the Dutch oven in this case. Set it aside for about an hour to an hour and a half. Then you pop it in the oven. So while it's baking and whatnot, I am going to work on making the bechamel sauce. One of the things about a Croque Monsieur, you can make it plain without the bechamel sauce. Well, what's the fun in that? The bechamel makes it a very rich sandwich and definitely elevates it from your typical grilled cheese sandwich. Actually, the neat thing is we already have something similar here in the US. There's a variety of countries have their version of a Croque Monsieur. So when you're making the bechamel, you just let the butter melt, add flour, make a roux. And the recipe, by the way, is in the description, as are the steps. A bechamel sauce is a really good thing to know how to make because it is the base of many types of sauces. It's also the base. If you're making a homemade mac and cheese, the bechamel is the base of your cheese sauce that you're going to use. But it has a different name depending what you add to the base of the sauce. You can have a Mornay sauce, which is usually Gruyere and Parmesan cheese. You can have a Soubise sauce, which is basically a bechamel where you add pureed sauteed onions. So you saute the onions and then you puree them. Then you mix it in to your bechamel. And now you've got a great base sauce to go on top of chicken, on top of pretty much anything, but also a great base sauce for like a casserole or stuff like that. So we're just mixing up the roux, making sure that the flour and butter are nicely incorporated. Then you're going to add the milk. And you want to do so slowly. You don't want the coldness of the milk. Some people actually warm up the milk. I don't tend to do that. I just do it very slowly and I whisk in the milk to my roux so that I don't have any lumps and it's nice and smooth, and I just keep on going until all the milk is incorporated. And then I keep whisking as it thickens. You don't want it to be too thick, but you can kind of tell, it starts to have a nice thicker consistency. And then I add salt and pepper to taste, and then you set it aside, pour it into a bowl to let it cool off. Put a cellophane on top, and you want the cellophane to have contact with the sauce because that'll stop it from having a film. Okay, the sauce is ready. I've set it aside. Time to get the bread out. Let's see how that's gonna look. Okay, that didn't work. Well, we did say we'd show you when I messed up. Mistakes would not be hidden, and I made a big one. I made a rookie mistake. I forgot to put butter or oil in the base of my Dutch oven. So, yeah. Well, all is not lost. I have some decent store-bought bread in the house. So I guess today we will be eating our dinner with that instead of the homemade bread as I had planned. Don't worry though, I am going to do the peasant bread again and make it happen. So now it's time to make the Croque Monsieur. First thing is I've got the oven heating up because I'm going to toast my bread. I want to toast the inside of my bread, so I'm putting on some melted butter, but the reason why is I don't want to put the bechamel straight onto the untoasted bread because I don't want my bread to get all soppy. So I'm going to put that in the oven and grill the bread that way for a few minutes. And just keep an eye on it until you're satisfied with it. Now it is time to put the Croque Monsieur together. And it's very simple. Put a dab of bechamel on the bread to keep the cheese in place. My slices of Emmental cheese. You could use other cheeses. This is kind of like the traditional cheese to use, so that's why I used that. I'm using Black Forest ham. If you have leftover ham in the house, that'd be great. On top of the ham, I'm putting some Dijon mustard. Give a nice little zip to the sandwich. You can change these things, right? This is the traditional way, at least as far as I know it. You could put regular mustard if you wanted to, but we're going for Dijon. I mean, I was in Dijon when I ate this the first time, so makes sense. Now we put some more Emmental cheese, and now we're slathering on a nice thick amount of bechamel. This sandwich is not for the faint of heart, and it is certainly not something you're going to eat when you're trying to lose weight. It's very rich, but that's what makes it so good. I top off the sandwich with the last piece of bread, and again slathering on a nice generous amount of bechamel. And it's okay, this is a messy sandwich, by the way, because of all the bechamel. Some more Emmental, but I grated it, and then pop it in the oven under the broiler. Here are this week's sandwich-related French vocabulary words. Le pain, tartiner, la moutarde, le beurre, le jambon, le fromage. Now I will say my oven does not have the best broiler, so it didn't come out nice and golden. But if you have a good broiler, I recommend you wait till the cheese is nice and golden before you pull it out, and everything will be nice and warmed up together. And there you have it, Croque Monsieur. By the way, in case you were wondering, I'm sure some of you might have heard of the sandwich called Croque Madame. You know, silly me used to think it was Croque Monsieur was for men and Croque Madame was for the ladies, so obviously I was kind of young at that point. But really, the Croque Madame, the only difference is that it has a poached or fried egg on top, and it was called Croque Madame apparently because the egg makes it look like the sandwich is wearing a little chapeau, a little hat. So I thought that was kind of comical, but that's really the only difference. And there you have it. I won't say it's a light meal, but it is delicious. Croque Monsieur is a meal unto itself. It is very, very filling and messy, so make sure you have tons of napkins. I'm back with le pain de paysan, the peasant bread. I was not going to be deterred. This time I went free form on a cookie sheet instead of putting it in the Dutch oven. But yeah, here it is. It smells great and it's nicely baked. Yeah, I'm very happy with the result, and I certainly would make peasant bread again. So there you have it, the Croque Monsieur, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you give it a whirl. It's definitely a nice, worthy addition to any sandwich repertoire that you might have. Merci et à la prochaine!